we could. They built one Panzer tank, we built 2015 Shermans. P-47s, Rolston on every 45 minutes off the airport. That's what that generation did. And something you tell your kids about. So you women, I appreciate what you've done. You know, you're a good bunch of people. You know, that's it. Thank you. Now, the LC took part in invasion systems in 1943. Managed General Patton's 1st Armored Division at Bay of Galley. And they made 2 trips over there to take tanks over and equipment. Then withdrew from that engagement, went to Italy. Took part in the Anfield landing. From there they went to England to get ready for D-Day. And made 44 trips from England to Normandy Breach. Bringing over equipment, trucks, tanks, bringing the wounded back. 44 trips non-stop. And you go up on the beach at high tide, the tide goes down, the ship be right on the flat land. So you can offload on the dry land. I know about the history of the ship. After World War II, the ship was decommissioned. Recommissioned for the Korean War. After the Korean War was over with, they mothballed it and kept it about 15 years. Then they signed up that the Greek Navy had as part of NATO. So went over to Greece. They kept about 20 years active, and they mothballed. They had 5 of them. So in 1999, a group of World War II veterans decided to go over and save one. So they went over. They found the 335, 325 was the best one. And they started working on it. Now, the United States government, Coast Guard, State Department, what have you, you guys are too old to do this. You can't do this. Well, good old Americans, they didn't listen to them. They brought her back. The youngest guy on the crew was 72 years old. 45 guys. They call him the kid. Okay. And they brought the ship back to Mobile Bay. And they made a bid to get the ship up here to Evansville, because Evansville built 163 of them in World War II. Just beyond where the gun boat is. It was Sandlot, they used to do a shipping yard. They had 20,000 employees there, worked 24/7 building these things. During World War II, built 1,051 of these ships. This is the only one left that's operational. The only one left. When those guys brought it back, so we all had some history to look at, especially young people, and what that generation did. You know, they don't call the greatest generation for nothing. And that's what they did. Now, we go a trip once a year to the city for raise our money to get the ship up. We went down to Decatur, Alabama, and Chattanooga last year. We're going to Pittsburgh this August. 45-man crew. And so we're going down to Chattanooga, and the captain and the XO was curious what the average age was of our crew members. So he got the roster, everybody went down and looked at the age outside. That after in the wardroom, the captain was about Thailand. Said, what's the problem, sir? He said, well, the average age is 68. Think about 68. So I said, what we got here is a tactical, mobile, floating rest home. But the old guys, we get the ship going for the young people. We got 4 guys on board the ship of World War II veterans. 2 served in Iwo Jima, Higginsville, and they still full duty. We got people from all over the United States, crew members. And you should be very proud to have this ship here. You know, the tribute what the greatest generation did. Now, a few more years, the World War II generation will be gone. And we were 2. This ship will be here for the next generation, the generation after that, if you take care of and support it. It's very important, because history is something, you know, it's not a name of the book or a date. It's a human being, like you and me. And those guys didn't do what they'd done back then. You'd be speaking Japanese or German today, you know? You don't want to do that. So it's very important that shit's done, and what the history does. Especially bring young kids aboard. They don't teach school, or they like to teach them history. They come aboard this ship, I take them to them, they leave the ship, they know some history. You know. Don't tell them to turn their cell phones off and telephones off. No, I'll put overboard. I get their attention real quick. Hold up.
General Patton, you just brought up about this LST and these Higgins boats, but we're sponsoring the Freedom Heritage. You said, didn't the P-47s help protect you at all?
These are P-47. Last year we had the Higgins operation. P-47 was a good piece of aircraft, and you shoot full of holes, still fly home. You know, the building out here at Westinghouse building. And every 45 minutes they put one roll similar. That's how quick they built it. P-47, they call it the Judge for some reason. I don't know why. But then escorted the B-17 on the raise over here. They could fly over and keep the roof off. P-47 very important aircraft.
You wouldn't be here without those P-47s, would you? You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here without those P-47s. So you give us a compliment on those P-47s, okay? That's bringing it up. We've got a lady here from University of Arizona named Heidi Strobel. And a lot of women in Evansville made the P-47s. And she's going to get up the podium here. We're going to use a different microphone, so only the people in this room will be able to hear. But Heidi Strobel is going to talk, going to get up the microphone here, Heidi. She's a UV professor. She's only been studying about Rosie Riveters for about 20 years, 10 years, but she is an expert on Rosie Riveters. Now, Rosie Riveters, I can't explain as well as she does, but remember, Evansville had a lot of them. There were a lot across the United States that made these planes very functional. So she's got a different microphone, and these rivets stayed together for World War II because the women, most of the women were riveters in Evansville and many other places in the United States. So Heidi, we'll turn the lights down if we can find the lights in. Heidi's taking over.
Can you hear me okay? Is that okay? Okay, first of all, wait. I'd like to thank Mark for inviting me to be here today. Thanks, Mark. I'd like to thank the very generous, thank you, local World War II community here in Evansville. And finally, I'd like to thank all the men and the women who fought for our country, both abroad and at home. So my name is Heidi Strobel. I teach art history at U of V in the Department of Archaeology and Art History. And today, very briefly, I'm going to talk to you about images of Rosie the Riveter, both national and local images, but don't worry, I'll be done before the planes start to fly overhead, okay? All right, so the first image that we're going to look at is one that probably most of you are familiar with here, but I had a weird experience last week. I was on a date, that's not weird, I was with my husband, and we were at Rerod's having some burgers last week, and I walked into the bathroom, the ladies' room, and I saw this poster on the wall. And I thought, this is really cool, because I know how popular Rosie the Riveter is, but here she is being used as an advertisement for the Women's World Cup soccer team. We all know beat China yesterday, and they'll go on to play Germany early next week. But for those of you who are eagle-eyed, you can see things like the name badge has been turned into a soccer ball. Okay, so these are probably the two Rosie images that you all are most familiar with, and these I'm very briefly going to be talking about today. The image over on the left-hand side was part of a company poster, and the painting over on the right-hand side was painted by Norman Rockwell. We're going to talk about the J. Howard Miller poster first, okay? So this was made, the image over on the right-hand side was made by a graphic artist named J. Howard Miller. It was one of 42 company posters that he made for Westinghouse Electric Company. Now, I've had the pleasure of interviewing many local Rosie the Riveters, and they are familiar with the image over on the right-hand side, but most of them were not shown this image during World War II. So this is the image that very much became popular in the 80s and 90s and early 21st century, but it was not something that was circulated during World War II at all. It was shown for 2 weeks to women who worked in a Westinghouse company, electric company. It was based on this photograph over here. This is a photograph of a woman named Geraldine Huff Doyle, who worked right outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan as a metal stamp presser. And so we think that J. Howard Miller saw this photograph of her, manipulated it a little bit, and created his poster. What I love about this story is that Doyle did this job. She was a temporary worker. She did this job for just under 2 weeks because she heard that her predecessor had mangled her hand while she was working the press. And Geraldine wanted to keep on playing the cello. So she never riveted, and she worked at this particular job for about 2 weeks before she went on to a much safer office job, okay? So again, this is not something, it's not a poster that was circulated during World War II. It was just shown to a very small audience who worked at Westinghouse Electric Company. They probably weren't even riveters who worked at, who this was targeted at. They were making liners for helmets. So it's a weird kind of poster to become so famous as Rosie the Riveter, because it wasn't popular during the 1940s and it wasn't aimed at riveters at all. More than anything, these 42 posters that Miller put together were meant to kind of give this close relationship between labor and management, which had been missing in the 1930s during the Great Depression. Okay, I want to talk about this for just a moment. This is Norman Rockwell's iconic painting. This, I think, many people were familiar with during World War II. It was on the cover of the Memorial Day weekend edition of the 1943 Saturday Evening Post. So it was on the cover of this very popular magazine. It then was used by the US government to sell war bonds. So this is certainly an image that was seen during the 1940s. Now, the million-dollar question is, did Rockwell see Miller's poster? No, he did not. Some of you guys who've had the pleasure of going to the Sistine Chapel and have a good visual memory might think, wow, okay, there's some similarities between, oh, I don't know, Michelangelo's image of the prophet Isaiah over on the right-hand side from about 1509 to 1510. And in fact, Rockwell did base his female image of Rosie on the male prophet Isaiah. So let's take a look here and just enjoy this image for a second. I think you can see the similarity in poses here. But what I think about both Miller's poster and Rockwell's painting is I think that they are both really kind of attractive combinations of feminine and masculine components. And I think that's why these images, especially Rockwell's in the 1940s and then Miller's in the 1980s and 90s and 21st century, have become so popular because they are this kind of combination of both masculinity and femininity. Similarly, Rosies were a composite. We had Evansville Rosies, we had Terre Haute Rosies. Okay, we had them all over. And so when I talk about Rosie the Riveter, it's really hard to kind of trace it just to one particular Rosie. The model, besides Isaiah, for this image was a woman named Mary Doyle Keith. And I'm going to show you a picture of her in just a second. I'd like to show you a couple of fun details here. Can you guys see what her feet are resting on down here? Mein Kampf. So this is very concretely an anti-Hitler image, right? In addition to the fact that she's got a very oversized riveter on her lap. There's some feminine details here as well. She's got lipstick on, you might notice, and a little bit of eye makeup, and then this beautiful kind of hanky sticking out of her pocket. And also a kind of nod to domesticity over here with her lunch pail behind the riveting gun. So this is Mary Doyle Keith. She died 3 months ago, or actually 2.5 months ago, mid-April of 2015. Here she is with the image that she actually never saw during the 40s. She recognized herself basically in the 80s in this particular image. So let's talk about local Rosies. I'm very interested in textiles, and one of the things that I noticed when I was looking at local images of Rosies was how women were dressed. And so we've got over on the left-hand side 3 grave shift welders from Evansville, part of the 19 million women nationwide who went to work to serve, basically to help us win World War II. So certainly the things that I noticed were logical things. Of course, you would put your hair up if you were going to wear it under a mask. So that makes sense. So we have that kind of connection here, here, and here. But I was also interested in this idea of the polka dots that we see in J. Howard Miller's image. And so I did a little bit more digging on that because it seemed like lots of Rosies, lots of images of Rosies that I saw had this particular textile. And what I found out was, not having been born until the late 1960s, I didn't know this, but that polka dots were really popular from the 1920s to the 1960s. And during World War II, as many of you know, factory production is very streamlined. So machines that were ordinarily used for fabric production were shut down. There was less fabric available. There were less ornate patterns that were available. So lots of solid colors during World War II. With the exception of polka dots. Polka dots was a pretty simple pattern. And so that's part of the reason why we see this kind of popularity of this pattern, especially during World War II. And so here's a national image of a riveter from Lockheed, California. Again, one of many images that I saw of these women, were dressed in a very kind of similar way. And what I think too is this desire, in both of these images and in other images as well, of doing this masculine job, but also wanting to preserve one's femininity, to be ready for the boyfriend or husband who would come home from war. To go really briefly to a local Rosie who worked at Serval. This is from the internal newsletter Ink Blots from 1943. This is a local Rosie, Rosalie Travers. And while she's not wearing polka dots, one thing that I think is kind of interesting is that this newsletter very much stresses her role as a riveter, but also her dedication to her family. So it's this interesting kind of balance, again, between participating in this very kind of masculine realm, but also staying true to her identity with her family. And other World War II researchers have noticed this kind of dance in images of women during World War II. Again, this kind of balance between wanting to kind of maintain femininity and working at this job that was very much designated for men before World War II. And finally, just to kind of point this out, this wasn't just a visual phenomenon. I love this quote from Roman Ritzer, who talks about the kind of compatibility of the skills that women would learn in the home with working in the factory, this kind of attention to detail. For those of you all who are needle enthusiasts, this idea of being able to kind of sew a straight line or embroider something. He was talking about welders and riveters during World War II, and Ritzer said, we've got to have them. Any woman who can sew a straight line, a straight seam can make a straight weld. So again, this kind of nice kind of balance, transfer really, of the skills that women would have learned in their home to factories to produce things like the P-47s. And this is a very iconic image, of course, of Evelyn Cox, the first welder in Evansville during World War II. And so I'm just going to end with this image right here, and I will take any questions if you have them, or things that you all might want to say.
Any questions? Any questions?
Sure, yes. Yes.
Okay, questions, please stand.
What was their pay like? What were they paid for their work?
About $1 an hour. About $1 an hour.
$1 an hour?
Yeah, somewhere between $1 and $1.20 an hour, depending on the job. Yep. Oh, and I forgot to tell you too that I think this is so funny. So this poster, of course, has been used by various politicians, but most recently, Sarah Palin, Hillary Clinton, and Ron Paul. Like I get the first two, but I don't quite understand Ron Paul. I know, so Rand Paul's dad, I think. And so, it's certainly something that we are so familiar with today. And in the 80s, it was an image that was resuscitated. It was used by, people who were interested in World War II, began to be interested in World War II again. Certainly, feminism appropriated this image. The feminist movement appropriated this image. But I was very lucky when I did my initial research to be able to interview local Rosies like Mike Wicker's mom, Bertha Wicker, and they were kind of vaguely familiar with this image, but they didn't remember it from World War II, which again kind of supported what I found out. Yeah.
And this is a Rosie Riveter right here, Lucy Wan Sealer. She worked on the elevators. That's the, I'm sure everybody knows that's the back part of the plane, one of the most important parts of the plane. This is Lucy Wan Sealer. She is a Rosie Riveter from World War II. At which company?
Hoosier Cardinal I worked at.
Thank you very much. Heidi, anybody have more questions can ask her? We have Brad Bird here to say a few words as well. Thank you very much, Heidi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Browning. I had the honor again this year to provide narration for today's reenactment down on the riverfront. Whenever I meet a group of people like I see here before me today, the very first two words I say is, thank you. Thank you so much. And it is great to see all the number of generations that are here down on the riverfront today to watch this reenactment. We've been telling people that this is more than just a story about war. It's a story about sacrifice. It's a story about how thousands of people right here in the Evansville area gave so much, not only abroad, but right here at home, like Rosie the Riveters. And it's so important to remember that we cannot lose that history. And that, as a newsman, often concerns me because in many ways, the way technology works today, sometimes we lose a sense of history. And there is that saying, you can't know where you're heading until you know where you have been. And it is all connected in so many ways. And I can't say enough for LSD 325 and of course the efforts by Dr. Richard Littoff, who has spearheaded this effort to build the Evansville Freedom Heritage Museum at Evansville Regional Airport. What an incredible gateway that will be for people coming into town. We're not celebrating war, we are celebrating the efforts by so many people right here in the tri-state who made a tremendous difference. And it's great to see the number of young people down there today watching that reenactment. When I visited the World War II Memorial about 6 years ago, I was very touched by the fact that I saw so many veterans there, World War II veterans, and people just coming up, perfect strangers, saying, thank you so much, I'm honored to meet you. Because the veterans who served in that war, so many of the veterans in all of our conflicts, they didn't really wear it out on their sleeve when they came home. They did what they had to do. And I've been very honored to meet people like Alan Sanderson. I met a gentleman today, Mr. Ray Chandler, who was involved in the conflict in Italy. These two men, these two veterans, had never met each other until today. And it just so happens that Alan Sanderson's P-47 company provided the air cover for the LST, I believe 151 that Mr. Chandler was on. 157. And they met each other for the first time today. It's amazing how there are so many connections, and it is a small world, and in many ways we breathe the same air. And the effort that you did, that you made, changed the world, and we appreciate it greatly. Please pass the word on to support the efforts of the Evansville Freedom Heritage Museum, because this will be something that generations in the future will be able to see how so many people, generations before them, changed not only the scope of the world, but in many ways the fabric of this city. And why Evansville and the tri-state, in that matter, has been so critical, not only in World War II, but all of the conflicts, Korea, Vietnam, the Iraq conflicts, and it is so very, very important that we not lose that in our sense of history. Thank you so much. I was very honored today to once again provide the narration for this event down on the riverfront. And again, thank you, veterans. Thank you so much for what you've done.
Okay, they're starting the air show. We have the honor flight representative here, Monica Centers, and she just wants to say a couple words about the honor flight, if you don't mind. We're opening up the curtains, we're turning the lights on when Davey Sue gets all those things over there correct. They're not easy to figure this stuff out, but this is Monica Centers, and the honor flight's been here, has left Evansville twice. It's been sponsored by Evansville once, first time in Indianapolis, and it's a tremendous event. We've got several people that have been on it in this room, and it's heartwarming, and they're working hard on that, and we have a little center here and some handouts for all of you needed. Monica.
Thank you, Dr. Browning. I'm Monica Centers. I'm on the board of directors with Honor Flight of Southern Indiana, and Also wanted to mention Dr. Browning is also serving on our board of directors as our medical advisor. So thank you, Dr. Browning, for that. He's quite supportive of the veterans in this community. We also have some representatives from the San Diego Honor Flight here with us. If you want to raise your hand. Yeah, they've been doing it a whole lot longer than Evansville has. But we are the newest hub of the Honor Flight Network. We were officially a hub in January of this year. We took our first flight in October under Indianapolis, and we have some veterans that flew with us on our inaugural flight. If you want to raise your hands. Who's all our Honor Flight veterans in here? And we have several that flew with us just this past May 30th as well. We are taking our third trip from Evansville on October the 24th. So we have 119 days to Wheels Up. We have applications out in the hallway here that we would love. If you are a veteran of World War II, Korea, we would absolutely love to take you on our third trip on October 24th. We have Guardian applications as well. The trip is a one-day trip to Washington, D.C. Free, a free trip for our veterans. Guardians, there is a fee. Every veteran does have a Guardian. We hear a lot of people that say they don't know if they can walk that long. We've got everything covered for you. We have wheelchairs for every single veteran if walking is a concern. So no excuses. We want to take you to Washington, D.C. So any questions, please come visit us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Watch the plane while we're talking, but we've got a person that's brought, there's a flag on the LST, and he will describe where this flag's been around the world. And before he gets to talking, we've got an image of this P-47 that we're going to have here in Evansville, made by a person from out of town. But this is what the P-47 looks like. We're going to have one flying here. We have Alan Sanderson up here. He's on the board, and he is one of the pilots of the P-47 World War II. This is Paul Black, and he'd be glad to sign you up for a membership there to be supported in the museum. And this gentleman, Dave Walker, to talk about a flag that I think very few of us know about.
I'm Dave Walker, and I'm from San Diego, and as you look at the LST now, the U.S. flag that's flying on the back of the ship is a flag that has flown in many places. It first started over a Marine Corps base in Iraq. It's flown on a couple of aircraft carriers, the USS Ronald Reagan, the Nimitz. It's been in the U-2 spy plane. It's been held by Judge Judy. It's been on a nuclear sub. And what's really been neat about it is that with Honor Flight San Diego, it's become the centerpiece of our flights and the pictures that we take. And that flag has escorted over 800 World War II veterans from San Diego back to Washington, D.C. And so the flag flies on the LST, and it's incredible for me to have this opportunity to have it here in Evansville and to meet the people from the heartland of this country. And it means so much to me as I look at this flag. I think about what it represents. The men and women that look after our freedoms, and they don't even know me. They don't know many of the other Americans around. And the life that we have because of the things that your generation has done and the generations in the past and in the future will do to provide this blanket of freedom for us is incredible. In 1939, my father-in-law was a Polish citizen born in Warsaw, and he was 19 years old. He was captured by the Germans at the beginning of the war. He was in a prison camp the entire war. Liberated by the Americans, he migrated to the United States, took a job in New England, worked hard, got a mortgage, paid his mortgage, lived a good life, put his kids through college, and since then he's passed. But he was so thankful of the people that were responsible for helping to create a life here for him and to save him from what was going on in Europe. He's thankful for that, and if it wasn't for you, your generation, I wouldn't have had my father-in-law, I wouldn't have had my wife, and I wouldn't have had my children. So the impact, if you ask yourself, did I make a difference? You made a difference. So thank you. God bless you for all you do, and God bless America.
A couple of things before we let you start watching these air boys here. These are Blue Angels here, and we have a Blue Angel in our midst. He grew up and went to Centennial grade school. His name's Chuck Newcomb. He lives in Florida right now. He signed these, and they're at Just Rennie's Restaurant. We have another set that's at St. Mary's Hospital emergency room. But we have a Blue Angel here that was born and raised here the first 9 years. He lives in Florida right now, and he's been associated with Blue Angels since he was in the early 20s. But you look this over when you get a chance. We'll be seeing those people around 3:15 this afternoon. So we're going to break here in just a minute. Let's just watch these airplanes. But I do have my Aunt Connie Browning here, and she worked at Republic Air. She was the secretary for Republic Air, and that's what we're trying to bring back is these planes. But she was the secretary there from for Hoffman, who helped construct that company a long time ago in the early 40s. And a lot of you have stories, like to share it with each other. And if you got some special stories, you come up to me and we'll try to do it on loud so you can tell some other people. But glad to have you here today, and have fun watching these planes.